When you think about iconic Italian supercars, you definitely think of Lamborghini. The Italian manufacturer has built some of the most iconic supercars over the last 40-50 years or so, and we've got a top 10 for you right here on the motoringchronicle.com, and I'm going to quickly run through these. I'm going to go through 10 to 6 just by reading the names out, and then I'll go a bit more in depth with the top 5. This is all based on an article that is over on the motoringchronicle.com, so please do check that out if you've not already. But number 10, we have the Lamborghini Veneno. In number 9, it's the Sesto Elemento. 8 is the Lamborghini Reventon. 7 is the Huracan, and 6 is the Aventador. I love the names. The names are so exotic. I mean, there always are going to be with Italian cars, but yeah, anyway. Number 5, the Lamborghini Gallardo. Now, I love this car growing up. Now, this was an iconic one. I must admit, nowadays, it looks a little tame compared to some of the more aggressive Lamborghini looks, but it really started the kind of front of that car. All the Lamborghinis now, if you can trace back their designs, it all kind of started with the Gallardo. This was produced between 2003 and 2013, and it signified a pivotal period for the celebrated Italian manufacturer. There were just over 14,000 of these produced, which speaks volumes to its popularity. A lot of people were ordering this. It had a V10 engine. It could go from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.8 seconds, which is about 0 to 60 miles an hour, and it could hit a top speed of almost 200 miles an hour. It was a beast. Next up, we have the Murcielago. Again, another iconic Lamborghini from the early 2000s that I absolutely loved. This came out of the kind of recesses, but out of the legacy of the Diablo, the Devil, which we may mention later on, guys. But yeah, this debuted in 2001. It had a 6.2 litre V12 engine, and that eventually got even bigger to 6.5 litres, just in case you needed a bit more horsepower in there. This was just an incredible car. It's beautiful, it's simple, and it was bloody quick as well. What a machine that is. Number 3, the Diablo. Of course we had to put the Diablo in there, guys. Now this was an iconic Lamborghini car from the 1990s. This was introduced in 1990. You know, when I thought about silly supercars that I just wanted to draw when I was 10 years old, I think I mentioned it on this before, when I was a 10-year-old boy just, drawing cars, this was it. This car was just ridiculous. It just doesn't make any sense, really. But what a beauty it is. I love it. I'm sure some people don't like it because it's just so out there, but my goodness me, to look at it, it is striking for sure. It had a 5.7 litre V12 engine, and it had 485 horsepower, which might not seem like that much nowadays, but in 1990 that was something else. It produced 428 foot-pounds of torque. It could do 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds, and they actually made a special edition, the SE30, for the Lamborghini's 30th anniversary as well, which was an even more souped up and high performance version of the Diablo. Just an incredible car. What a machine that is. And then we've got the one that really started it all, the Miura. This was produced between 1966 and 1973, and it's an absolute beauty. And I must admit, there's a picture that we've got here, I'll probably put it in the video as well. There's a picture of this car we've got where it's in red with like a bit of white highlights. You squint your eyes, you think it's a Ferrari. That's how beautiful it is. It had a 3.9 litre V12 engine, which had 350 horsepower. Again, by today's standards, that doesn't seem so much, but in the 60s, me oh my. I mean, most cars back then used to really struggle to even get to 70 miles an hour, the actual motorway speed limit, and it did 0 to 60 in 6.3 seconds. For me, it has to be the best looking Lamborghini of all time, no doubt. And number 1, it's the Countach. Now, I must admit, I'm not as big of a fan as some people with this car. For me, it's a bit too square and a bit too boxy, but it is absolutely iconic. Partly because of those gull wing doors that it had as well. I can totally see why people love it. It is aggressively 70s and 80s, this car. It is an absolute stunner for sure. And yeah, it was made iconic as well through the film Cannonball Run. it had, how much horsepower did it have? It says in here somewhere, it must do. Well, I know it got a big boost a few years after production, going up to a 5-litre engine for that as well, which boosted the horsepower by 50. Its total horsepower probably around 400 or something like that, I'd guess, going off of that. And 0 to 60 in just 5.6 seconds. But yeah, there we go, guys. Those are our picks for the top Lamborghinis of all time. Like I said, there's a fantastic article over on the motoringchronicle.com that goes into far more detail about all these and the history of Lamborghini as well. But yeah, what's your favourite Lamborghini of all time? Let us know in the comments below, and of course keep it followed and subscribe to the motoringchronicle.com to see much more automotive content just like this.